morning, everyone. My name is Saleh Ghazal, and I'm the Managing Director of OMD UAE. As a person who was born and brought up in the early 80s, I was kind of lucky to witness the growth and the evolution of marketing technologies. And I was always fascinated and intrigued by how these technologies are going to play a role and how they're going to influence the different industries that we're in, including marketing. Today I'm going to talk about my 9 predictions on marketing technologies for 2020. But before we actually start with MarTech or the predictions, let me just explain what MarTech is. The definition of MarTech essentially is all the different softwares, tools, technologies that marketeers leverage and use to better plan, target, execute, report, and optimize their marketing calendars and marketing campaign. So to start with the first prediction, the rise of MarTech. Usually in all economic crises and economic downturn or shortfalls, we see brand marketeers and communication strategists try to find ways on how to better understand their audiences. Now, if you go back to 2007, 2008, during the global economic crisis, or right before the global economic crisis, there were only 150 marketing technologies. Today, 12 years later, there are more than 7,000 global marketing technologies. It is a $120 billion industry, and it is growing at 22% year on year. So you can imagine how impactful technology is on the marketing industry. Now, unfortunately, in this part of the world, MarTech isn't really taken that seriously. MarTech is basically accounts to 6 to 8% of the overall marketing investments, compared to markets like the UK or the US or Germany, where MarTech accounts to 30 to 35%. Now, my prediction for 2020 when it comes to this point is that marketeers are going to realize the importance of MarTech to their businesses, and they're going to invest more in marketing technologies. Now, definitely we're not going to reach or increase from 6 or 8% to 30 to 35%, but we're definitely going to see a double-digit component. The second prediction is having the customer or the customer experience at the heart of brand strategies. If you go back to 2006, Times Magazine had an issue which is the Person of the Year. And it was, in 2006, the issue was the first issue that did not have a specific individual. And the Person of the Year was actually you. It was the consumer, and it was all of us. Today, more than any time, the consumers are becoming extremely powerful. We're becoming more demanding, and it is becoming extremely challenging for brands to really understand what we want. Now, the prediction for 2020 on that point is that marketeers are going to invest more in MarTech solutions to break these siloed communication and have one singular overview or a view of the consumer across all devices and make the consumer at the heart of brand strategies. Yes, personalization is a trend, but I think marketeers are going to invest more in that space to change their models from multi-touch points or multi-channels to an omni-channel communication. The third prediction is automation. This is a term that I don't really like to use, which is artificial intelligence. But let's face it, with artificial intelligence and machine learning, it is becoming extremely sophisticated. But the fact is that they're making marketing less complex. And I think in 2020, marketeers and brand specialists are going to invest more in artificial intelligence, in machine learning, and work on automation to ultimately deliver better results and self-optimization. And that's mainly because they do not really trust the human intervention, because it is more costly and it's kind of a waste of time. The fourth prediction is about search engines. We know that every now and then search algorithms keep on changing. For those who are into search engine marketing, we know that that you kind of have to learn something new every other week. Now, the angle that I'm going to talk about in the sense of the evolution of search engine here is mainly because of e-commerce. And we're going to see the rise of shoppable search engines, and that's mainly because of Amazon. So if you look at the revenue of search on Amazon globally, it's around $9.6 billion, and it's going to keep on growing. And with Amazon moving into this region, we're going to see shoppable search engines even more. But it's not only the shoppable search engines that I'm talking about. I'm talking also about the voice search. If you look at the US population, 20% of the US households actually have a smart speaker, out of which 50%, almost 50%, order groceries over voice search. Now, in this part of the world, in the region where the population is relatively young, according to Google, 70% of those who are between the age of 18 to 29 actually have used voice search. So it's needless to say that advertisers are going to move into the space of optimizing their content towards voice search and not only text search. Influencer marketing. I think we've talked about influencer marketing years ago. Today we're talking about influencer marketing, and we will continue talking about influencer marketing. And I think the reason behind that is because it is witnessing a double-digit growth in the region. It's a $10 to $15 billion global industry in this region. It's around $160 million. In 2020, this industry is going to grow by around 40% or around 50% to reach around $250 million. But the point here is to talk about the influencer marketing platforms. These platforms that identify what are the different influencers that suit your marketing campaigns. And they primarily talk about these metrics that are about likes, comments, and followers. And they combine all these three metrics into an engagement score, and based on the engagement score, you choose a different influencer. But today, Instagram has started to launch, testing, hiding these metrics, and it's going to become extremely harder for influencer platforms to kind of navigate that solution, unless they move into marketing technology or embrace marketing technology and find other KPIs or other metrics that make sense. I think in 2020, we will see influencers moving into a performance-based remuneration model. So you pay me when I kind of sell your product, and not when I deliver the amount of likes or the amount of comments or engagement. Number 6 is focusing on the visual experience and vocalizing content. From engagement to communication, I think everyone around this room or on Earth is basically interested in a very dynamic, unique imagery content. And this is why the likes of Facebook, Instagram, Snapchat are platforms where the youth spend most of their time. And that's mainly because of imagery content. And I think in 2020, brands and marketeers are going to invest more in visual experience and try to localize content. And these platforms are going to use technologies like augmented reality to create different lenses and have people engage with other people and brands engage with other brands and consumers. Number 7 is about the increased spends in digital out-of-home. I guess the previous speaker talked about 5G and the impact of 5G on the marketing industry. It is going to change a little bit on digital out-of-home. So we're going to see more of the digital suppliers change their static hoardings or static locations into digital out-of-home. But I think my point here, and you know, I think there is an instance at the airport where you have these digital billboards at the baggage belt, and they're able to identify whether you are coming from India or you are coming from Riyadh based on the baggage belt, and you're able to kind of change the image dynamically. So I think in 2020 we're going to see the first programmatic outdoor campaign. But the point here is not only on digital out-of-home, because it's kind of small in the larger scheme of things, and it's about out-of-home in general. I believe out-of-home suppliers and vendors are going to invest more in technologies, more in marketing technologies to really identify who are the consumers who are going to see my billboards or my space. And they're going to create certain heat maps or overlay some consumer movements from mobiles. They're going to have to find a way to rationalize and justify the investments behind outdoor. And I think this is something that is great for the industry. Number 8 is about e-commerce. And I think this is a slide that is going to be here also next year. As globally, e-commerce grows by around 18% in this region. It's around a $10 billion industry, but it's growing at 44% year on year. So the growth is huge. I believe in terms of retail, the retail e-commerce is only 3% of total retail, so it's really small. So you're still going to have malls, so you're still going to have the communities that my previous speaker was talking about. But then again, we're going to see retailers moving into that space. And this was recently Zara, Massimo Dutti, and other brands have tapped into this space. And this is not because they want to only increase their revenues, but this is also because they want to tap into the omni-channel experience of the consumers. And finally, I'm going to talk about short-termism. This is something that Lee talked about just previously, and this is I think the biggest mistake that advertisers or marketeers are currently doing is looking only at short-term objectives or short-term goals. And this is mainly because they want to please, you know, the shareholders, especially during these kind of difficult times. In 2020, I believe marketeers are no longer going to shift their investments from the upper funnel of brand awareness or brand building to the lower funnel of performance. In 2020, advertisers are going to realize that what they have been doing in the last few years only serves much. And we're going to see advertisers investing more in attribution modeling, econometric modeling. How are they going to mirror both models together, focus on footfall attribution and other marketing science, and they're going to mirror both marketing science and marketing technology to kind of correct their overall investments. So this is a new term that is going to be used. I think I've tapped into the Adidas example, which talks about the exact same term. So probably in 2020, you're going to see more of this term being used. So these are my 9 predictions for 2020 when it comes to marketing and marketing technology in specific. Thank you.